Money, power, politics. And Donald Trump is tightening his grip on corporate America. Remember when they said he was going to deregulate everything and let it rip? Well, in the last few days alone, the president has demanded the resignation of the Intel CEO, the firing of Goldman Sachs top economists, and made deals with major chip makers that essentially make his administration a partner in their businesses. And that is not even including his tariff war or his attacks on the BLS and the Federal Reserve. All of this is part of a pattern. Trump seems to want to replace the established rules of American business with his own. Or as my friend Jeffrey Sonnenfeld puts it, quote, MAGA has gone Marxist and even increasingly Marxist. Our nightcap is still here. Daniel, do you agree with Jeffrey Sonnenfeld? Because the whole point, right? I heard from so many people in corporate America this time last year, Kamala Harris does no business. Trump does. Even if he's gone out of business, he understands it. We got to get rid of Lena Khan. She's strangling us. We need deregulation. We need tax cuts. And this is where we are.
He just has a menu of different ways of controlling the business community, whether it be through tariffs, whether it be through this new initiative of woke AI, which basically means you better control your LLMs, your large language models, to the way it's subservient to me, or else I'm not going to approve them. That's one of them. The Bureau of Labor Statistics things. I used to oversee the Bureau of Labor Statistics at the Department of Labor. The notion that you would pause the jobs report until it was correct, like there's implication of the new commissioner, it should be a huge warning bell for the entire world, right? Trillions of dollars are decided on those numbers every month. We used to look at some of the private sector indicators that would come out before the jobs report, and oftentimes they were completely wrong. If there's no faith in honest data in government anymore, that will be a revolutionary implication on the trust in government for going forward for the United States.
We will lose our position as the world's greatest superpower. Full stop.
And on top of that, people don't realize that there's about 20 surveys done by the Department of Labor, including, as part of the jobs report, deep demographic data on women, on people of color, on immigrants that Trump will now have control over. No one's really talking about that, and that's going to be a huge concern, too.
But here's the thing. As we're saying this, people are laughing, going, have you looked at the markets? Have you looked at the S&P, the Dow, and the NASDAQ? They're through the roof. Because here's the thing about the investor community, Pablo. They know that Donald Trump has one real guardrail at the end of the day. It's the market. And as much as he's saying these things and doing these things and push it, they know that if markets really dropped and everything really went sideways, he'd say, forget it, forget it, forget it. I'll do whatever you boys want me to do.
Right. And in the meantime, he'll have, Tim Cook create, or rather have a veteran create, a golden calf to present to him. Yeah. It's remarkable. And they're doing it, by the way, because, as you say, the conditions are still quite ripe for quid pro quo politics and business. And also because if you're Tim Cook and you have a fiduciary duty to your corporation ahead of the country, then guess what? This stuff tends to work. Like the whole idea of, is this a quid pro quo? What is on the other end of the equation? It's some real stuff, Steph. Okay, like they're doing it because it works.
Okay, so that's the thing. And I know you're shaking your head and you're saying, why aren't these CEOs standing up? You just said to me in commercial break. Okay, yeah, I'm not saying they're not pathetic. But did Donald Trump play Tim Cook, or did Tim Cook play Donald Trump? Because Tim Cook got exactly what he wanted. And yes, he embarrassed himself. He gave Donald Trump a gold phone, but he's not paying the tariffs. And it works for his customers, it works for his employees, it works for his shareholders. What it doesn't work for is the future of capitalism and democracy.
He is paying the tariffs, just not as bad of tariffs as he thought he was going to pay. And it's humiliating. And these guys, could you imagine the inverse of this? What Wall Street, what your CEO buddies would be saying if Kamala Harris had been elected and she decided that in order to avoid the wealth tax that I want to put in, all you have to do is come in and give me a woke golden calf that was made by an indigenous woman of color or something. And then as long as you bring me that, as long as you bring me that,
crafted this basket.
As long as you give me that, then you don't have to pay the tax. I'm going to pay somebody else. Everybody, the Wall Street Journal would be up in arms. The guys on Fox would be losing. The world would be on fire if that happened. And this happened, and these guys are all too afraid to say anything. It's embarrassing. It's pathetic. And by the the way, I don't think it's going to necessarily bail them out. This is a massive risk that they're playing, and Donald Trump, the market is a guardrail for him, but there's not like a magic button in the Oval Office like the Diet Coke button that's like make the market go back up. If things start to get out of hand, if things start to unravel, if we get into a recession, Donald Trump can't taco his way out of it. And so I think these guys are really playing with fire for no discernible reason to me except for short-term interests, just, the next report.
Okay, but that's it. It's the ultimate in short-termism. That is why Donald Trump was so angry at Goldman Sachs this week, because the Goldman Sachs report said the impact of the tariffs have barely even hit yet. You're seeing, increased pricing in some products, but so many big businesses front-loaded their inventory. But come September, it's the American consumer that's going to pay. Just today, Donald Trump said, wait until a year from now. All of these factories are going to open. We've not heard from one major company that wasn't already planning any new businesses saying, I'm going to open up a factory here. So it's the ultimate in short-termism.
And that's why I think the larger point here is that powerful people, whether it be business CEOs or Kim Jong-un or Vladimir Putin, powerful people are playing Donald Trump every single day, and he has some admiration for all of these people deep in his heart. He's the insecure guy from Queens who wants to make it in Manhattan, right? That's like his entire psychosis that you're just seeing time and time again. Whether it be the fact that Masa Son, the guy from SoftBank, announces an investment that already happened, but Trump thought it was great, to the fact that he says he admires Kim Jong-un and he wants the people to have the praise from the crowds that he does, even though The Economist had a headline, Kim Jong won, when he met with Kim Jong-un. It's just over and over again. This is what the president wants. He craves attention from powerful people, even if he gets played in the process.
Okay, but for all of those CEOs that couldn't take one more day of having a DEI officer that was stifling their business.
Was that government mandated, the DEI officer, by the way, or did they choose to do that?
Okay. They all chose to do it.
Okay.
They championed it. They made commercials about it. They had conferences over it, but then it was killing them. That was killing their business. Now those people think it's easier to have a president who could publicly say, I want you to step down, CEO. I want a cut of your profits. That's better?
Yeah, they prefer this guillotine. They prefer the guillotine, apparently. As
well, they
opposed
did get
to,
a tax cut.
Well, but speaking of cuts, but the point I guess I'm making here is that if you're one of these CEOs, what it does cost you, to Tim's point, what it should cost them is their credibility. Like, they should no longer be considered serious people in the marketplace of ideas. Because what's happening now, Steph, is very clear. They are taking the short-term gains, and in the meantime, they're hoping you forget the fact that they complained about their free speech rights. But meanwhile, I ask anybody on this planet to find me a CEO who has said anything critical about Donald Trump. They are talking with a shoe in their mouth, and it's Donald Trump's boot. And they're saying, oh, before we couldn't really exercise our First Amendment rights. Now we can. And meanwhile, they're garbling over this boot.
You know what else they're going to do? Is they're going to drive people into the arms of Zoran. I'm feeling Zoran pilled, just like listening to this conversation. It's a true thing. If these guys go all in, if they go all in with Donald Trump, they make the case that that we're going to have the 5 richest guys in the world sit behind Donald Trump at the White House at his inauguration, and we're going to give them all this money in exchange for no regulations and make sure we get a carve out for the tariffs, and the rest of the economy goes bust. Like, what do you think? Where do you think regular people are going to turn? They're not going to turn to the Wall Street Journal Ed Board and say, you know who we need to save us from this terrible thing that happened to the rest of us? Paul Ryan. No, they're going to turn to the far side of the left. And these guys are digging their grave. So you're saying it's going to be Occupy
Wall Street, but this time it'll work?
Yes.
100%.
It could work. I think that's a risk. That's all I'm saying. I think that they are risking.
They're daring
that kind of
someone
backlash
to be populist in a real way.
It is just reminding the public that you can't trust these capitalist CEOs, guys like Sam Altman, who are Democrats saying all this great things about diversity, now standing with the president. Mark Zuckerberg, who was doing all of these big initiatives and now is getting rid of fact checkers. People sniff that out, and they're so sick and tired of the system. And I totally agree with you. You're going to see people go right into the arms of Zoran Mamdani and other candidates who are saying the system is rigged and I'm going to be fighting for you, and you should see it with your own eyes.